Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. If you've noticed lately, there have been a lot of apple recipes lately. I got a couple of big bags of apples at the grocery store for next to nothing. It's late fall. Apples are really inexpensive, really cheap. So I'm doing a lot of apple desserts. And once again, we're going to have another apple dessert. We're going to do an apple and ginger or a maple ginger apple crumble type thing. So in the food processor, we will make the crumble topping. So in goes flour, cinnamon, salt, baking powder, dried ginger, brown sugar, and some butter. Lid on and pulse. Apple crisp, apple crumble, people call it all sorts of things. I have large flake oats. I'm going to put those in. Couple of pulses. I don't want to break down the oats. I still want to know that there's lots of oats in there. And that food processor is probably too large for that amount of mixture. If you've got a little mini one, I've got a mini one. I should have used it. I should have pulled it out. I own the stuff. I should probably use it. So in this enameled cast iron pan, I'm going to melt a little bit of butter. I should probably get that maybe a little bit warmer. Bring it up to halfway. So what do you put in your apple crisp? I don't think I ever make it the same way twice. I really don't. It's one of those things where, you know, if I've got apples and I've got a crisp, crumbly topping on it, I call it an apple crisp. And I play around with flavors all the time, which spices I put in, how much sugar I put in. Often I don't put any sugar at all in with the apples. I find that apples are generally sweet enough for me. And I pretty much always put in some sort of acid component. This is some apple cider vinegar. Put some of that in just to sort of act as a foil to balance out the sweetness from the apples. I am going to put some sugar in it today, though, in the form of maple syrup. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt to this. Get it going. What I want to do in this step is just saute the apples and get a little bit of caramelization and to drive off a little bit of their moisture. So people are going to ask what apples I bought or what apples I'm using. And I'm here to tell you that I don't remember. I have no recollection. I bought them. There's a grocery store chain here in Toronto that has stuff they call imperfect. And so they have bags of green peppers and apples and, you know, various fruits and vegetables that are maybe a little flawed around the edges. Maybe not the right shape, maybe not the right color. And so I buy those because they're super cheap. And the actual variety was written on the little tag that, you know, closed the bag, which is long gone. I looked at the bag this morning and I have no clue what kind of apple they are. Use an apple that you like. I would, even though I'm using only one kind of apple here, I would normally put in 2 or 3 kinds of apples. Different flavors, different textures. Some that break down to give, you know, that creamy sort of mouthfeel of an applesauce. Others that retain their shape. I think that's important. Same thing I do with beans. My next step is I'm going to flambé. If you haven't noticed lately, I really like to flambé. And so I'm going to use acerum, if I can get the lid off. Acerum is a spirit distilled from maple tree sap, maple syrup. It has 0 maple flavor. It really has no maple flavor. I did a blind tasting of this with Daniel over at the Whiskey Vault, and there is no maple flavor whatsoever. It is kind of close to rum agricole in that you get a lot of grassy notes, very vegetal notes. I think it's going to go well in here. It also will foil or play nicely with the maple syrup that we're going to use later. So, a couple glugs. And flambé. Okay, now if you are someone who doesn't want to flambe, doesn't, like this, the safety aspect of flambeing, don't do it. If you are someone who doesn't want to cook with alcohol, don't do it. It's really not that big of a deal. You're going to lose a little bit of flavor, but you're still going to have an amazing apple crisp without it. There really isn't a substitute. There really isn't a substitute. The flavors that you're getting here from the flambe are things that you cannot get any other way. That smells absolutely incredible. So I've got it on a fairly low heat at this point, and I'm going to grate in a thumb's worth of fresh ginger. And of course, you could use ginger powder, just like I use ginger powder in the topping. You could use candied stem ginger or just candied ginger if you like that. That would work really well in here. Okay, I think that's just about enough. Set that aside. Stir the ginger in. This is the apple cider vinegar. The temperature on this is right down. I've got this on just basically the lowest point. This pan is going to hold a lot of heat, and we'll continue the cooking. A little bit of maple syrup. Now, you could obviously use any sugar source that you like. White sugar, brown sugar, sorghum molasses, corn syrup, any of those things, and sort of adjust it to your liking of sweetness level. I'm going to put in about a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Oh, that's the stuff. That's the stuff. Okay, so stir this all together. Get the apples completely coated with the maple syrup and vinegar. Make sure the ginger's well distributed. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of flour and stir that around. Again, coating everything. Okay, pat the apples down, single layer. And on goes the crumble topping. Okay, so this now goes into an oven at 375 degrees. I'll see you in a little bit.
Hey, Glenn, I see
Hey,
you're really
Jules.
working the fall goodness.
Gotta get rid of those big bags of apples. Okay, so
That's a big scoop.
it's a big crumble. Crumble's the kind of thing where you can really vary the amount of apple and apple to topping ratio. People have different ideas what apple to topping ratio is.
I can only imagine the discussion that's going to happen about the apple to topping ratio. Because as a little kid, I wanted more topping. Absolutely wanted more topping. More brown sugar, please.
I want more apple at this point, though.
Yeah.
Okay, dig into that, Jules. Tell me what you think.
Got a nice sharpness to it.
That's the ginger.
Okay.
So there's powdered ginger in the topping and fresh ginger grated in with the apple. And ice cream or whipped cream. So I'm going to put in a little whipped cream because... Would you like some?
Sure, why not? Ha!
There's also a bit of acerum in with the apple mixture.
Well, that's lovely. That adds a bit too.
Okay. Fall. Yeah. Fall. This is great. Tell us all about your apple crumble. What do you put in yours? Because everybody has their own interpretation.
There's so many versions. And you know what? It's one of those things that you almost can't fail.
No, you don't really need a recipe.
You almost can't fail. No, that's not right.
You can't fail.
You can't fail.
No. No, don't worry about it. And even if you do, it'll still be fantastic. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.